So this is a video that my friend and I, Hayden, had done earlier today. He's playing Brettonia. He's got some, what are these? Royal Hippogriffs. Elec de Bordelot. Paladin. And he took a whole bunch of men-at-arms. I was expecting to take a lot more bowmen, but he did men-at-arms. He took some Knights Errant, the Regiment of Renown, Grail Knights, and Battle Pilgrims. Oh, and the Damsel. And he also did something really sneaky, which I didn't notice until it was too late, as he took 2 questing knights and hid them in these trees. I've taken 2 units of Longbeards with shields, a unit of Iron Breakers, the Regiment of Renown, Giant Slayers, Longbeards with great weapons, 2 units of Thunderers, one on each flank, Trollhammer Torpedoes, and Iron Drakes. Then I have an organ gun in the back here. The characters I took were a Dwarf Lord and a Runesmith. So I make a couple of really amateur mistakes in this battle. You know, stuff that no one should really do. Oh, I also took the little helicopters, gyrocopters. There you are. And at the beginning of the game I decided to go and harass his hippogriffs a little bit to annoy him. Meanwhile, his trebuchet opens fire on my lines, and I have to force the dwarves to run down the hill. Really should have known better that he would take a trebuchet and outrange me. So I was hoping that he was going to come at me. Foolish hope. If he didn't have to, he wouldn't. After taking a couple of pot shots at the hippogriffs, these things started running away because he started chasing me. I went to the safety of my line where I knew that he would not pursue me. He's being really patient, just shooting away at me as I'm slowly advancing. Not that dwarves advance in any other way, only slowly. His boys hiding in the trees are over there, are still sneakily resting. Taking a few pretty big hits on these giant slayers. He knows that they can do some serious damage. I kept on slowly advancing. Slowly. So of course a very key thing to remember is to outrange your opponent if you can, because if you do, it forces them to come to you and they have to kind of play on your terms. Instead of me having this big hill as an advantage, I had to come down here and play on his terms. So he starts to go around the flank with his hippogriffs, and I open fire with the organ guns, as you saw. He backs off a little bit to get out of range, and then he continues going around the flank. And I decided to go harass them a little bit with, well, I was going to harass them with the gyrocopters, and then I decided to just shoot at these until he came and did something about it. How about we fast forward this a little bit? There we go. So he's finally come over to do something about that. I've advanced enough where he has to come at me because of my superior firepower, and I was completely oblivious to this death trap that he was causing for me. Between his questing knights going through the woods, I didn't see him at all. I was focusing far too much on this over here. Turn my dwarves to cover my left flank a little bit. Meanwhile, these guys snuck up behind me. It's very easy to outmaneuver dwarves. Anyone can outmaneuver dwarves. Peasant mobs didn't like that too much. Oh yes. That was satisfying, even if it was just a peasant mob. Some more blasting charges. Charges into my dwarf line. And against longbeards and ironbreakers, there's not a whole lot that he can do. Like, he will die. And this is about when I recognized what was coming at my rear. It's when I saw questing knights coming right in here. There's not a whole lot I could do with my front line, tied up with a whole bunch of peasants. And he just charged everything in the back, making them pretty useless. This guy started retreating. So this is one of the big screw-ups that I did. I wasn't keeping a hold of my lords. I had some really good effects that they could have used to buff my army, and I completely lost track of them. And he goes halfway across the field chasing these guys. And my other dwarf lord, that was my runesmith. My dwarf lord does the exact same thing over here. He chases these guys, leaving my two characters halfway across the field, not supporting this army. And I left these two guys doing nothing for far too long. Meanwhile, he's just running all over. Yes, dwarves charging horses. Comical. I almost made it, but of course the horses pull away, as they inevitably will. Yeah, they didn't do a whole lot there. Comes around, and the last of my resistance starts getting nailed right in the back. Oh, little Dawi flying everywhere. Slayers are supposed to be unbreakable, but if anything could break them, it would be a Grail Knight charge in the rear. Oh, poor dwarves. This is why dwarves don't like horses. I also have a few guys over here. Not many. Managed to bring back my lord. Right here. Going for the damsel. She didn't seem too impressed. She runs away, and typical, a dwarf never catches up with anything. These longbeards, they hold in pretty good. Or these iron breakers. These are the iron breakers, I'm sorry. They hold in pretty good, but they're no match for this much armor piercing. Dwarves are one of my favorite factions to play. I haven't played them in a while, which is probably why I did so poorly. They're easy to play, but they're also really easy to take out. All you have to do is outmaneuver them, get behind them, take them from all sides, and they will eventually run. And there they go, sounding the retreat. Meanwhile, over here, everything else, it's all done for. I've lost it all. Try bringing these guys in, and then they end up retreating, because there's a lot more dead dwarves than there is humans. Look at the carnage. Last thing I have is pretty typical, just a couple of slayers. It looks like a couple of longbeards. I think this is the last charge. And I turned them around for some reason. I'm honestly not sure why I did that. That was also another very amateur mistake I've made. I encourage people to watch their videos, save replays, of all your defeats. Watch them again, see what you did well, which for me was not a whole lot in this match. See what you did poorly, improve on that, see what your opponents did, so you know what to expect from other clever opponents. All these charges were really well timed, and I would have had, even if I was playing better, I think I would have had a hard time taking this out with the list that I had. So, valiant defeat. Feels more like a crushing defeat. Only thing I killed were peasants and a couple of horses. But tune in next time when hopefully I do quite a bit better. And now I'm off to work because YouTube doesn't pay my bills.